Hi, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Wetlands Board meeting to order for Wednesday, November 8th. The responsibility of this board is to carry out locally the Commonwealth policy to preserve the wetlands and to accommodate economic activity so as not to prevent their despoliation. Could I get a roll call, Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Waltrip?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. May?
Here.
Ms. Bowie?
Here.
Note for the record that Mr. Roadley is absent.
Thank you, sir. All right, everyone has the meetings from the October 11th board meeting in front of them. Are there any suggested changes or comments, suggestions for those meeting minutes? Not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes from October 11th, 2023 is presented.
Thank you, Ms. Bowie. All those in favor of approving the minutes from October 11th, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? None opposed. The motion carries. The meeting minutes from October 11th have been accepted. I'd like to now open up the public comment period. The public comment period offers a chance for community members to express their opinions. Topics discussed shall not be directly related to specific public hearing items. To participate, speakers must please provide their name and address for the record. Are there any members from the public wishing to address the board or speak? All right, hearing none or seeing none, I would close the public comment period. Now down next to board considerations. Mr. Wilson, we have election of officers for 2024.
That's correct, Mr. Vice Chair. The elections will be for Chair, Vice Chair, and Secretary, and those positions will run from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024.
All right. So first, we would like to, we need to fill the vacant chair position for the Wetlands Board. Are there any nominations for the chair position?
You're the current vice chair, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I nominate you for the chair position.
Any other nominations? I would accept that responsibility. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. I've been elected as the chair for the Wetlands Board. Now we need a vice chair position, which I currently hold, but that now needs to be filled. Any nominations for vice chair? I would nominate Mr. O'Brien as vice chair if he'd be willing to serve in that capacity.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. So to nominate Mr. Michael O'Brien as vice chair, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, for your willingness to serve in that capacity. Now we need to elect the secretary for the board. Do we have nominations for the secretary?
I nominate Robin Benedict for Secretary of the Wetlands Board.
Thank you, Ms. Bowie. Any other nominations? All right. All those in favor of electing Robin Benedict as the secretary for the board, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Ms. Benedict's been elected to serve as the secretary. Thank you, Ms. Benedict, for your service. Going on to the next item here, WJPA-23-0040, the Colonial Parkway Bridge repairs. Ms. Benedict?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Robin Benedict, Watershed Planner. This plan before you, WJPA 23-0040, is not a matter that we are voting on tonight, just an informative presentation to let you know of some repair activity that's going to be taking place. It's the repair and rehabilitation of 8 different bridges across Jamestown Island and down the Colonial Parkway. So that parcel is the entirety of Jamestown Island. And this map shows those 8 bridges spanning from the College Creek Bridge all the way down around going to Blacks Point Bridge at the end of the island as well. So starting at the Isthmus Bridge, a lot of the repair that's going to be taking place on these bridges is repairing the decks of them where they're deteriorating or cracking. This one in particular had some underside cracking to the deck face of it. Pitch and Tar Bridge on the island, which as you can tell has some deterioration on the face of it. Blacks Point Bridge, similar deterioration issues on all of the timber elements. Long Bridge, which you can see has had a couple of repairs in the past. This project will address some of those repairs and fix the remaining issues on the bridge. Powhatan Creek Bridge on the Colonial Parkway, again, underside cracking and stabilization issues. And the Mill Creek Bridge as well. Finally, the College Creek Bridge. All of these bridges will have just some deterioration issues, cracking, joint issues, delamination, and they're just getting them all done at one time. So we just wanted to make the board aware that this was a project going on. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Those wooden bridges tend to get slippery for bikes when it's wet. Any plan to put some type of finish on there or other method?
Not to my knowledge, I'm not sure, but I'd be happy to look into that and get back to you.
Has there been any talk about raising any of these bridges for boats moving in and out of the Powhatan Creek or College Creek? Strictly repair.
I believe it's just strictly repair. I didn't see anything regarding height changes in the application.
What are the dates of the repair approximately? Do you know?
I don't believe there are any set dates yet.
So will the whole Parkway area, when they start this, will be closed down from 199 all the way through? Because if they're working on it, you can't get through. I mean, is that what the intent is?
My understanding is that they're going to work on it in pieces, but for the portions on the parkway, I believe that will be in conjunction with some of the repairs already taking place.
Thank you, Ms. Benedict.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, wetlands ordinance update for 2024 from county staff.
Yeah, the General Assembly passed this year some minor changes to the wetlands ordinance. We will be working with the county attorney's office to get those before the Board of Supervisors by the end of the year. Those changes will take effect January 1st, 2024. A highlight of some of those changes, no longer will wetland permits need to be notarized. There's some public notification issues that have been cleared up. We can now use email to notify applicants and adjacent property owners, things like that. Trying to get some of the technology into the ordinances. And then there was just a couple cleanup items. The ordinance still references the old Engineering and Resource Protection Division. We're going to clean that up as well. Before we send that to the board, or concurrently while we send it to the board, we'll also send a copy to the Wetlands Board for their review. Any questions? Be happy to answer them.
Questions? Mr. Wilson, would you like to introduce your new staff at this time?
Yes, sir. We have 2 new staff tonight. One from the County Attorney's Office, Mr. Andrew Dean. And one in our office, Ms. Emily Grogine. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no matters of special privilege on the agenda, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
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 I
Meeting's adjourned. All right, now I'd like to open up the Chesapeake Bay Board meeting for November 8th. The responsibility of this board is to carry out locally the Commonwealth policy to protect against and minimize pollution and deposition of sediment in wetlands, streams, and lakes in James City County, which are tributaries of the Chesapeake Bay. Can I get a roll call, please, Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Waltrip?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. May?
Here?
Ms. Bowie?
Here.
I'll note for the record that Mr. Roadley is absent.
Thank you. Everyone has a copy of the meeting minutes from the October 11th meeting. Any changes or suggestions regarding those minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes from October 11, 2023.
Thank
for
you,
the
Ms.
Chesapeake
Bowie.
Bay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. The motion carries. Meeting minutes from October 11th have been approved. I'd like to open the public comment period. The public comment period offers a chance for community members to express their opinions. Topics discussed shall not be directly related to specific public hearing items. To participate, speakers must provide their name and address for the record, please. Are there any members from the public wishing to speak? All right, seeing or hearing none, I will close the public comment period. And then now we'll go on to the public hearings. The outline for tonight's public hearing will be a staff presentation, followed by any questions or clarifications from the board. Then the public hearing will be opened. At that time, anybody wishing to speak may do so once called upon by the chair. All public speakers must state their name and address for the record. Presentations before the board are subject to time limits. After everyone wishing to speak has done so and discussion among the board has concluded, the public hearing will be closed. The first item on the agenda tonight is CBPA-23-0123, 4388 Landfall Drive. Ms. Benedict?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Robin Benedict, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 23-0123. Mr. Ryan Linekin with Williams Landscape and Design has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Mr. William Trolin for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of 2 retaining walls, an upland riprap area, and a river rock area located at 4388 Landfall Drive within the Landfall at Jamestown subdivision and the Powhatan Creek watershed. On the map above, you'll see the parcel outlined here in blue and the Powhatan Creek boundary shown in yellow. This parcel was platted in 2001 prior to the changes to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance in 2004. However, the ordinance change did not affect the RPA on this lot. Here's aerial photography of the subject parcel. The topography as it affects this lot, it's fairly flat with a steep slope down towards the water. The floodplain as it affects this property. The resource protection area, which comes up almost to the back of the home, and conservation easement, which also overlays the back of this property. The total lot size of the property is 0.47 acres, of which 51% is located within the RPA. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 retaining walls, an upland riprap area, and a river rock area surrounding an existing yard drain. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to repair sinkholes behind an existing bulkhead by installing crushed stone in those voided areas. Here, to get an idea of the scope of this project, the house is down here on the screen. The water is at the top. The 100-foot RPA buffer is here up by the house, and the 50-foot is sort of in the middle of the screen. Zooming in on the project area, again, the 50-foot RPA down here at the bottom. Here are the two retaining walls on either side of this green area. The riprap area down here in the left side of the screen, that will tie into an existing riprap area on the site, and the river rock area here in orange as well. The area between the existing bulkhead and the lower retaining wall is proposed to be top dressed with stone, which is an additional impervious area, and that is shown here in blue. The total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 718 square feet of impacts to the seaward 50-foot RPA. This project will also encroach on a conservation easement located behind the house. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals 2 planting units, or 2 canopy trees, 4 understory trees, and 6 shrubs. The applicant has provided a mitigation plan that satisfies this requirement, and that is shown by these green areas on the plan. In July of 2016, the applicant proposed the installation of a shed, patio, walkway, and herb garden, and were granted exception CBE-16-0104. At this time, the applicant proposed a mitigation plan that equated to 6 understory trees and 20 shrubs. The previously approved mitigation should remain on the property or should be replanted to satisfy the conditions of the previous exception. Those items, such as the patio and the herb garden, can be seen on this plan, as well as the 6 understory trees and the 20 shrubs which were required. Here's site photography looking at the existing riprap area and the proposed riprap, which will continue up this slope. This gives you a better view of what is existing on that property. Looking at the existing bulkhead, again, there will be a lower retaining wall in this area, and the area between the bulkhead and that lower retaining wall will be overlaid with some stone, as well as some of these void areas along the bulkhead will be filled with riprap and fixed. This is the other side of the existing staircase on the property, where again it will mirror what was proposed on the other side. Standing at the top of the bank and looking down, the upper retaining wall will be somewhere in this area, and the stone surrounding the drain will be off to the left here. And the other side of that staircase, again, where it will mirror that project. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of 2 retaining walls, an upland riprap area, and a river rock area. This application meets the ordinance conditions in sections 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because the construction of these items is considered accessory in nature. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions. The exception request is the minimum necessary to afford relief. Granting the exception will not confer upon the applicants any special privileges denied to other property owners in the vicinity. The exception request will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of Chapter 23 and is not of substantial detriment to water quality. The exception request is not based on circumstances or conditions that are self-created or self-imposed, and reasonable conditions are imposed which will prevent the exception request from causing a degradation of water quality. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with this proposal to be moderate for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval, and if the board wishes to approve this request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. An affidavit must be recorded in the Williamsburg-James City County Courthouse prior to the project start. The applicant must submit a surety of $2,000 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plantings. The applicant must ensure that the previous mitigation from CBE 16-0104 is present on the property or replanted to satisfy the condition of the exception request. This exception request approval will become null and void if construction has not begun by November 8th, 2024, and written requests for an extension must be submitted to the Stormwater and Resource Protection Division no later than September 27th, 2024, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Yeah, questions for Ms. Benedict?
Pretty straightforward to me.
Any trees being removed?
There will be some selective clearing on the hillside to make room for the mitigation as well as remove some undesirable species.
That's between the two retaining walls?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the retaining wall closest to the water is not that far from the bulkhead.
Correct. I believe it's 6 feet away from the existing bulkhead.
The other one will be further back with the mitigation area in there. Is that going to be sloped in there, or is it going to be flat? Like are the two retaining walls going to be tiered, or are they going to be similar height?
Don't off the top of my head, but I believe the contractor is here and can answer that.
Is this work to, like a repair current damage? In the pictures, I didn't see there was a lot of erosion or anything, but is this being proactive to prevent future erosion, or is there an existing issue on the property?
There is some existing erosion on the slope, but this very much is being proactive to try and reduce erosion.
Any other questions for Ms. Benedict? All right. Thank you, Ms. Benedict.
Thank you.
I'd like to open up the public comment period. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on the matter? Please announce your name and address for the record, please.
Sure, thank you for having me. Ryan Leniken, Williams Landscape and Design, 1554 Penniman Road. Answer a couple of those questions. Any sizable tree is staying where it is. There's nothing larger than a small caliber, less than an inch being removed from the hillside itself. There is some erosion. It's not extensive, but there is some forming. More along where the bulkhead stuff is getting done. It's hard to see it with the vegetation that's kind of climbed over top of everything, but there's definitely some undercutting there. And then the lower wall will be about 18 inches in height, and the upper wall will only be about 6 inches in height. It's mostly to help direct water along the hillside, and then the lower ones to lessen the slope of the existing hillside. So it still will be sloped in between the two walls, with the existing staircase staying as it is.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. You guys have a good night.
Anyone else wish to speak on the matter? All right, hearing none, I will close the public comment period, and this matter is before the board. Seems to be a pretty reasonable project, moderate impact, being a proactive to try to stop future erosion. So I think I would certainly support this request as presented. Right, do I have a motion on this matter?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the exception request for Chesapeake Bay Board case number CBPA 23-0123 at 4388 Landfall Drive.
Right, Mr. Wilson, we have a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Mr. Waltrip,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Ms. Bowie,
Yes.
Mr. May.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we move to the election of officers for 2024, calendar year 2024, which would start January 1st through December 31st of 2024. I'd like to first fill the chair position. I myself would nominate Charles Roadley as the chair for the Chesapeake Bay Board. He's done a fabulous job to this point, and he currently serves in that capacity. I would nominate Mr. Roadley for chair. Any other nominations?
He didn't show up tonight because he didn't want to get nominated. No.
That's what you get.
Teach him.
All right, so we have Mr. Charles Roadley has been nominated for the chair of the Chesapeake Bay Board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, none opposed. Mr. Roadley is elected as chair of the Chesapeake Bay Board. Now we'll need to fill the vice chair position. Do we have any nominations for the vice chair position?
Mr. O'Brien, would you serve as vice chair?
Sure.
Good choice. All right, we have a nomination for Mr. Michael O'Brien as the vice chair for the Chesapeake Bay Board. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous, none opposed. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, for serving in that capacity. Now for secretary of the board. I would nominate Robin Benedict as the secretary for the Chesapeake Bay Board. Do we have any other nominations? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of Robin Benedict serving as the secretary to the board, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. That was unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Benedict, for serving as the secretary for the Chesapeake Bay Board. Next, we have CBPA-21-0178 at 5508 Swan Road, installation of a retaining wall. Ms. Benedict?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Robin Benedict, watershed planner. Mr. Jason Hoyle is requesting a 2-year extension to CBPA-21-0178, which was originally granted on January 12th, 2022. Staff concurs with this request with the stipulation that all permit conditions, except for the expiration date, be reauthorized and that the new date of expiration be January 12th, 2026. This is the second extension request for this project.
Mr. Wilson, would there be would you have a roll call vote for that?
I'll make a motion to accept the deferral request for.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Motion to extend the permit for 2 years. Mr. Waltrip,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Ms. Bowie,
Yes.
Mr. May.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, we have, next on the agenda is CBPA-21-0130 at 115 Heathery. And this is also an extension request. Ms. Benedict?
Mr. Chair, Robin Benedict, watershed planner. Mr. Martino Wen is requesting a 2-year extension to CBPA-21-0130, which was originally granted on January 12th, 2022. Staff concurs with this request with the stipulation that all permit conditions, except for the expiration date, be reauthorized and that the new date of expiration be January 12th, 2026. This is the second extension request for this project.
Thank you, Ms. Benedict. Any questions for Ms. Benedict on this extension request? Thank you. Do I have a motion on this matter?
Motion to accept the deferral request for CBPA 21-0130.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Mr. Wilson, we have a motion to accept.
Motion to accept the deferral request. Mr. Waltrip,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Ms. Bowie,
Yes.
Mr. May.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, seeing that there is no matters of special privilege on the agenda, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.